Steve Gill. Steve, really delighted you could join us. I guess people on this side of the pond aren't surprised that Prince Andrew's in there. Any surprise on your side of the pond that the former president's been named?
No surprise there. I think what is surprising with respect to Bill Clinton is that he was mentioned in these documents, in these court documents, about 70 times, and there are pretty specific allegations against him, and I think there were about 37 times that he flew down to this pedophile paradise, Epstein's Island. So I think the numbers, I think, are a bit shocking. And then the other thing is the number of Hollywood celebrities, top billionaire business people that are included on this list. And again, some of them may have flown to the island one time, but for those that went back repeatedly, I don't think there's any question that they were aware of what was going on and probably participants in the sordid stories going on down there.
Well, we have to be really careful, because obviously nobody has been criminally charged. This is all speculation, and for all of us, and I just want to say this to people tuning in, this is a document released overnight, 950 pages. I've already thrown out Michael Jackson's mentioned, Stephen Hawking's mentioned, David Copperfield's mentioned. I want to bring it back to Clinton, though. 37 flights to Lolita Island, or Lolita Airways, or whatever it's called. Most people are aware of what allegedly took place on that island. Not a great look in terms of judgment by the ex-president of the United States of America, Steve.
I think even a worse look in terms of judgments against any of these people. I mean, the FBI, the authorities have had these documents and had the testimony of the young women involved for years. The FBI confiscated over 150 boxes of pictures, videotapes, and other evidence. And nobody except Ghislaine Maxwell, who was the right-hand girl for Epstein, has been prosecuted. She's in jail, but none of these people, whether it's, again, as you point out, they haven't been charged, they haven't been convicted. That's the real question. Why not? Particularly those who made so many trips to the island, so many trips to his mansion, so many trips to his ranch out in New Mexico. Why has the cover-up been so detailed for those rich and powerful people?
When the representatives for Bill Clinton were contacted about this, they referred back to a statement made back in 2019 saying he knew nothing about Epstein's crimes. What kind of response do you think they're going to level today? Because there'll be lots of criticism, lots of questions to be answered.
Well, and keep in mind, this is just the one of many documents related to this court case. This is, depositions and testimony under oath. There are other testimonies, there are other witnesses, statements that have not yet been released. There are other names that have not yet been released. So this is sadly just the tip of a very sordid iceberg. There's unfortunately more to come, and I think that the denials for most of these people isn't going to carry much weight. I mean, and it is huge celebrities, Cher, Oprah Winfrey, who took these trips to the island. Interestingly, a lot of the media in the U.S. are trying to point the finger at Donald Trump, who is mentioned in these papers, but no evidence at all. In fact, there's testimony that refutes any evidence that he ever went to the island, went to the mansion of Jeffrey Epstein in New York, or went to the ranch in New Mexico. So, if anything, this exonerates Trump, but throws Bill Clinton and many others right into the hot fire.
Well, I'll add to the list. I didn't know that. Oprah Winfrey and Cher. Steve, a couple of things. First, as an ex-advisor to Bill Clinton, how long were you an advisor for?
I was a director of intergovernmental affairs for the U.S. Trade Representative for 6 months under President Bush, and then for 6 months under President Clinton, working on international trade issues and advising in that capacity.
And nobody at that point had any awareness of this whole situation, because you made a point that I think is really interesting. On JK Live, the evening show I used to do, we did a special investigation and spoke to Ghislaine Maxwell. It's an exclusive, a world exclusive, inside that penitentiary. And I am in no way, by the way, to procure young girls. Absolutely, she deserves to be in prison. But you're absolutely right when you say, not guilty by association, but there are many, many people on this list today. I didn't know about Oprah Winfrey, Cher, I repeat, Stephen Hawking, Michael Jackson, David Copperfield. There's a lot of people, headed, I guess, by Andrew and Bill Clinton, who are going to have to answer some very tricky questions over the coming days and months, right?
And the question will be, do they prosecute any of these people and force them to answer questions under oath in a court of law?
Yeah.
Again, this guy was a rich and powerful guy who cavorted with rich and powerful people. So to some extent, if you get invited to a party at his mansion in New York, or he goes to other parties as he's trying to procure more friends in high places, some of these people may not be guilty of any of the sordid acts, but clearly a lot of them knew what he was up to. And there are also serious questions about whether he was operating as an operative for any governments, the U.S. or other foreign governments, to get blackmail on powerful people, celebrities, politicians, because he was generating a lot of money for himself with no visible means of support. He really wasn't a hedge fund trader. He was getting hundreds of millions of dollars into his pockets. What was that money being paid for, and where did it come from?
Really interesting. Steve Gill, thank you so much for staying up so late, a former advisor to President Clinton. I mean, there's Epstein. This is a massive thing. And just in that moment with Steve, Oprah Winfrey, Cher, Stephen Hawkins, Michael Jackson, David Copperfield, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew. This is going nowhere. I think the important point to make is what you said to me earlier. Be avoiding a trial by media, of course, right?
There's 950 pages. So as that's been released, people are pouring through them, and those names crop up. Caution has to be taken here. In many of these cases, no implications of criminal activity, but these people now suddenly find themselves right in the heart of such a highly controversial and previously criminal story. So lots of them today working out how to respond.
I wish I could get back to Ghislaine Maxwell again for part 2 and find out what she thinks. Thank you to Steve. Stood a couple